He's here with us to discuss, to share his ideas on the changing media scenario, on how people have been losing jobs and how media houses are being shut down.
Labor, rationalizing journalists, and it's a bloodbath going on there. So if you describe it, it's among all the areas which have been hit the most, which is media. And
hello viewers, welcome to another show. This is going to be a very short show on the Connect series. Right now we have Mr. Gurbir Singh, who's a veteran journalist, and he's also a human rights activist and president of the Mumbai Press Club. We are here. He's here with us to discuss, to share his ideas on the changing media scenario, on how people have been losing jobs and how media houses are being shut down one after the other. Gurbir, welcome to the show. Trend seems to be for the newspapers to shut down, taking pandemic as an excuse. The Mirror has been shut down. So what's your take on the Mirror being shut?
so you see, this was something which we saw it coming. I mean, amongst ourselves, there was a lot of discussion. And about 8 or 9 months ago, or maybe just when the pandemic started, or just after that, what the company did, the mother company, which is Bennett Coleman and Company, shifted the entire Mirror operations in a small subsidiary based in Bangalore, which owns the Vijay Times. That's a small. It's an English paper, but from a company point of view, it's a small company. So they shifted the entire Mirror operations there.
Yeah.
So that should have been the signal to those who are discerning that something was afoot. So obviously they had that kind of thing in mind. The other thing is that you see, Mumbai Mirror, from a business point of view, was riding entirely on advertising. A newspaper like ET or Times of India, they have two revenue sources. One is advertising, one is subscription. Broadly, a newspaper like the Times of India the cost is about 15 rupees. So subscription brings in about 1/3 of the funds,
Yes.
and 2/3 they gain from advertising and whatever the profit is above that. Now, in the case of Mumbai Mirror, it is entirely riding on the Times of India. They have no subscription revenue at all. So when they found that the advertising was falling, so naturally in the preference order, the first tax was Mumbai Mirror. I mean, internally we know within the Times Group that averagely they used to earn 400-450 crores in advertising a month. The time when it sort of fell below that, there was a sort of a red flag going up. But during this pandemic, they've been earning about 100 crores, which is 1/4. The best performance in the last few months has been 125 crores, which is really very poor. So, in this kind of business scenario, that is how they choose. So Mumbai Mirror, which has got no other revenue stream apart from advertising, was first to face the axe, and that is what has happened. The thing is that they could have thought of another business model or whatever it is, but the problem is that it is these media houses, groups like the Times of India, that have set up these business models which are entirely advertising driven. There's very little subscription factor in it, and to kill the other competition, the sort of the face value of the newspaper is also kept at very low, so that they kill the other newspaper. So the competition and in the kind of business model that they use is, in the time of downturn, becomes very negative. And when they're competing with somebody else, then they overhire. It is a fact that in many departments in the Times, when the times are good, when all the software companies were taking up and the startups were taking off, they had 10 to 15 guys just covering startups.
Yeah.
And when the startups collapsed, all these guys were just hanging around doing nothing, and then they started sacking them. So there's, obviously you see that there's no vision in the way they hire, in the way they kind of do business. It's all short term, living from month to month, or one business cycle to another. I mean, this is not the way a good business house should be conducting its business. So each sort of milestone is like that. Business Standard, they retrenched among the best journalists. There was no need there was no need, I wouldn't say need, but there was no question of merit or problems with the journalism these young journalists were doing. It was just that they were they were paid, they were well paid, and the company wanted to avoid that burden of a high wage. So 7 or 8 of their best Bombay sort of journalists were asked to leave. They still write on a freelance basis. So obviously there's no friction or anything like that, but the company just wanted to save on their salaries and asked them to go. So and on each day we are finding this kind of a situation where companies are shedding people because they don't know how to face the future. They're trying to cut on their entire salary bill. They're trying to sort of cut costs. They're trying to sort of remain afloat by closing departments, rationalizing labor, rationalizing journalists, and it's a bloodbath going on there. You know, so if you describe it, it's among all the areas which have been hit the most, it is media, and the reason clearly is that the entire business model of print as well as broadcast journalism in India is that it is about 80 to 90% dependent on advertising. So it's a secondary industry. If other industries don't advertise, they don't get revenue. So the sort of trigger is that. The trigger is that uh, companies are rationalizing, companies are saving money, they are not advertising enough, their budgets are being trimmed, and that is flowing down into print and broadcasting. The
Now,
other thing is just the physical distribution of newspapers has been completely fractured because of the pandemic. I think probably about even today, even after somewhat things are restored to somewhat normalcy, even now 50 to 60% of circulation is still to be restored as far as the print journalists, the print medium is concerned. And it is unlikely that they will ever come back to those levels again.
that is
It is
true. Media will not be the same again.
yeah,
May not be
so
the
that's the
pre-COVID era.
situation. So so you have no advertising, you have poor subscription revenues. They are earning about 25% of what their original revenues were. So that is the trigger. At the same time, the questions to be asked is whether this kind of firing policy is really saving them enough money, and is this the right way to go about it?
No. Of course, there's another question that needs to be asked is of late, we also read some positive reports about some media houses making quite a bit of money during the festive season. You know, the Exchange for Media report very clearly indicated, even the Times of India management was quoted there. And they said they made enough money. Of course, they didn't say enough in so many words, but they said, yes, it was a good money. But despite that, we heard these kind of disturbing reports.
You see, my basic belief is that the wage bill, trying to save through sacking people and kind of conserving on wage bill, is a very negative way to go about it. Because if you look at the basket of expenses of any media company, wages barely makes up something like it will be varying between 15% and 30%, or maximum 25%, I would say. So, what is your saving? Rather than that, you should rationalize on real estate, on office expenses, on landed expenses, bring down your circulation a little, go more digital. So there are various ways of doing it. I mean, just as an example, the publication I work as a consultancy with the New Indian Express,
Yeah.
has not sacked any journalists. They have not. They've got more than their network is more than 500 journalists all over. They've not sacked anybody. But what they've done is that all the small offices in Mofussil centers, in smaller towns, etc., they've shut them all. They're saving on real estate there, and they've asked these journalists, and as well as their support teams of marketing and the advertising and marketing teams, to all work from home. So this has saved them a lot of money, and it's a good way of rationalization. They've not had to sack anybody.
In fact, work from home is a new trend which is catching on very well among lots of companies and corporates. And as far as journalists are concerned, I think that's the best thing to do, because suppose the reporter is supposed to be in the field, not sitting in air conditioned comforts. And
Yeah.
similarly, the desk people also, can work on their laptops, on their computers from home. They can do it. You have a good point that, there should be rationalization. Maybe this could be one good point for other media houses, because once this trend starts, there's a dangerous trend of this this having a cascading effect. Do you fear that kind of a scenario, Gurbir?
Uh, what would you mean by cascading effect on what?
Other media houses will do so. Times of India has got away with it. Why not some other company do it? And
Okay, that way.
that
See, I see there are 2-3 factors which we must see. Broadly, unionization is very low among journalists and non-journalist newspaper employees.
yeah,
It used to be there used to be more unionization. There was wage board. People who are under the wage board, people covered by certain government rates, etc. Now, for the last 15 to 20 years, the contract system has completely destroyed that. So
yes,
each one is an individual himself who's got his terms and conditions marked out through the contract that he has signed. And journalists are not into collective bargaining and so on. So this has definitely weakened the situation where there's no kind of collective bargaining, there's no government control. Supreme Court has passed an order or a judgment saying that if employers are rationalizing to save themselves from the pandemic, then they should be allowed. So what we find is a trend that even where the companies can actually ride out this period of economic downturn,
yeah,
what they're doing is they're using the pandemic as an excuse to rationalize. They're trying to sort of just cut down on, they're just trying to save money by either sacking people or closing departments, etc., and using the pandemic as an excuse. So, there's no question of this cascading into something, because all the media houses are now very well aware that they can do it and get away with it. So this is what is happening. So uh, I would think about 30 or 40% of journalists and their support staff before the pandemic are today on the bench. They're not employed, and many of them may never come back into the industry. So I think things have changed much beyond what we saw. And we talked of print media. We used to joke about it that it will take about 5 years, when 5 years more, and then print media will be coming to an end and we'll be moving to a digital era.
yeah.
But now it looks like that 5 years is going to get crunched in either 1 year or 2 years, and you may not find any print media after another 2 years or so. That is the kind of situation which is developing.
You have been talking about the collective bargaining. Of course, we had the unions, BUJ, etc. We had a lot of union movement in the maybe 20, 30 years ago. But today, the institutions like the Mumbai Press Club, the Delhi Press Club, some extent, even the Press Council raises its voice, but the voice doesn't seem to be reaching the right quarters.
The right quarters would be the government, and the government should set up a machinery to protect journalists. On paper, there is a machinery. There are labor commissioners who are supposed to supervise the law.
Yeah.
There's a Working Journalist Act where people cannot be dismissed, at random. There are contracts which also give certain rights to journalists, their own contracts. But none of these things are being protected.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying an employer like the Hindu, which was supposed to be an exemplary employer, it was supposed to be an employer with a human face.
Yes.
Well, they suffered some losses, and the first thing that they closed down the Bombay edition. They sacked the entire staff from here, and they knocked off another 70 people from all the other 70 journalists from about 6 or 7 centers in the south, and gave them the marching orders. Now all those guys are in court. They're fighting it out. And they thought that this was the best company that they joined. So, you see, so nobody is safe now. And I think there is a sort of a panic which has set in even among the employers.
Yes.
They're doing much more than they should be doing in terms of, they should ride it out. They've made profits in the good years.
Yes.
So they should also wait for the downturn to get over. Nirmala Sitharaman, our finance minister, is talking about green shoots. She's saying that the third and fourth quarter will be much better. The results are also showing, the stock market is showing buoyancy. So the point is that we are moving towards normalcy. Today, Mumbai on the COVID situation is much better. We are hardly reporting maybe 600 or 800 cases a day, and
True.
less than 10 deaths. It is fallen below 10, the number
True.
of deaths. So we are definitely moving to a much better situation, and it's only a matter of time that there will be an upturn again. So in these kind of situations, the companies, the media companies also should ride it out. Maybe they've made good money during the good years. So they should, I mean, if they are bearing a few losses, one should bear it and wait for the cycle to get over rather than just kill their brands. Tomorrow, if they want to, say, Times wants to revive Mirror after killing the brand, they won't be able to do it. See, they are also axing their own feet. These are good, powerful brands which they've built over 1 or 2 decades. And it's not that nothing has gone into it. They've sunk a lot of investment into it. People's sweat and blood has gone into it. You brought, say, Mirror up to that stage where you have used the brand to launch TV stations, to
Yeah.
launch real estate portals. You've done a lot with that brand, and today you're killing the brand. And tomorrow you have no brand. You have to start again. So what I'm saying is that even from a business point of view, these kind of steps look short-sighted. I think they should be a little more visionary in how to rationalize operations and how to save money. This is not the way to do it. I mean, randomly sacking people in such a large number.
In fact, as we reported in the morning, on the one hand, we had this positive news, good news from the WHO saying that the pandemic is ending very soon and we can now dream of, seeing the end of the pandemic. And on the other hand, you have this kind of a very disturbing news. As you said, I think they could have waited for some more months, probably. Could be one final question. The government keeps talking about having some kind of a control over the functioning of the media. Recently, they proposed that the entire digital media, the online media, should be brought under the Information and Broadcasting Ministry's control. Do you think government, in a welfare state, in a socialist republic like ours, has a role in regulating somehow the media landscape, employment-wise at least?
The employment and content regulation are two different things. They definitely don't want to have anything to do with employment regulation. That's why during the pandemic they've done nothing, and they've spoken about employers not sacking people, but they've not set up any machinery to protect jobs.
True.
So that's one part of it. On content, they're very worried because this regime, they feel that the only thing that works is Mann Ki Baat and Doordarshan. I mean, given a free hand, they would want all other media to be shut down except Mann Ki Baat and Doordarshan. So that's the perspective. Now you see the one area which was uncontrolled or which was uncensored was the digital side.
Yeah.
So now they've brought in digital controls into all that. So it's a very insidious method of slowly controlling, because through the Cable Regulation Act, they control broadcasting. Through the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, and through public and government advertising distribution, they control the entire print media. And finally, now they want to control one section which was somewhat free, which was digital media. And unfortunately, now they have put their heavy hand on that also. So it's something to be concerned about. And I think in a democracy, I think public opinion and civil society should rise up and really at least try and see that the fourth estate remains independent as far as possible.
Yeah. On that note, thank you very much, Gurbir. I think ours is a very small attempt to kickstart this kind of discussions. I hope media organizations, platforms will take up this topic. Thank you very much for joining us, Gurbir. Thank you.
Thank you, B.N. Kumar. Thanks very much for having me. Bye.